Now, let me start off by telling you something funny. Sudanese people are one of the most inaccurate, careless, reckless, and lenient creatures when it comes to being on time. Now, I'm not talking about Sudanese people not being able to be on time for tough tasks like going to work on time or attending morning classes. No, even when being punctual is linked to a happy task, they're always late. Like meeting a friend after long absence, they're always late. Or shopping for Eid, they're always late. Or a guy heading to his lover's house to propose, he and his family are always late. See, the funny thing is, this time last year, Sudanese people were always on time when they were facing death, facing bullets, facing whipping, facing prison, whatever that gentle, feminine Sudanese sound chanted at 1 o'clock, they were always on time. Isn't it funny how this Dagruda was able to make Sudanese people more punctual than any alarm or a clock? I mean, come on! Hey Snoopy, you might want to set this Dagruda as your alarm ringtone. I mean, you may not wake up smiling, but you'll definitely wake up on time. No, but seriously, isn't it funny that we can't make it on time for a dinner party, yet we were extremely punctual for a revolution? But actually, when you think about it, it makes perfect sense, because this revolution is not like the ones before. It has something to do with politics, but everything to do with social fabric. Because even though some of the people who went out to the street and revolutionized against the past regime were unfortunate, but not the majority. The majority went out for justice, freedom, peace. They went out to say no to humility, deception, and false virtues. And they showed the whole world through 4 months of stubborn, steady, and persistent pace of non-violent movements what Sudanese people can do when they're united. And the whole world knew what Sudanese people were made of and saw the nobility of our cause, except for the past regime. See, the past regime thought that we only went out for bread, so they made more bread and made it cheaper, but we were still in the streets. They thought we only went out for lack of cash, so they printed more banknotes, but we were still in the streets. They did not realize that we went out for the pain in our backs from when they whipped our brothers and sisters. They did not realize that we went out for the holes in our hearts from when they shot Abdulazim. They did not realize that we went out for the feeling of sadness and anger within for what has been committed in Darfur, Niala, Kordofan, and many more places that witnessed mass genocide. So with all the sacrifice this revolution went through, I honestly couldn't stop myself from wondering, what has changed Sudanese people to this extent, to this angelic extent? And at the top of my head, the answer was noble cause merged with sense of responsibility. If I were to summarize what I've learned from this revolution in 3 lines, it would be: have the Sudanese people unite around a noble cause, and have the Sudanese politicians unite around a sense of responsibility, and you would end up having prosperous Sudan. As simple as that. Because the people who sacrificed their lives for ours have fostered these 2 components, and based on which they have bent over and paved the way that will take us to dignity with our heads held up. They have enriched our lives with virtue, and our hearts with courage, and our country with unity, and our blood with patriotism. They did not ask for anything in return. They were always in the forefront when we were hiding. They were always believers when we were skeptic. They did not blame us for letting them down sometimes, but they certainly will if we don't finish what they have started. They're not asking for much. Just grab the torch from their hands and forge ahead with your cause. Learn more, read, educate yourself, love your country. If there's something I learned from our marches, that would be to always be honest. Never be fearful. Stay loyal to your cause and live a life that you would be proud to look back on. Remember, a life that you would be proud to look back on, not happy to look back on, because the state of pride does include happiness, but the state of happiness alone is way too fragile to uphold pride. And that's why we should always commemorate their anniversary, not because they deserve it, but by doing so, virtue, morals, and purpose are once more revived within us. Remember what Mitch Albom said in his book, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. He said, and I quote, "Sometimes when you sacrifice something really precious, you're not really losing it, You're just passing it on to someone else. Those martyrs have sacrificed their precious lives and passed them on to you. So now I ask you, how would you honor their lives? I know that I started my speech with something funny, took you through a challenging journey, and left you with an inspiring end, just like our revolution did. So stay strong, stay loyal to your cause, take a break, but always come back, because we need you. May Allah have mercy on our shuhada.